Welcome to Coffee and Conversions, the podcast for millennial moms building something meaningful alongside real life. We're talking web design, SEO, Pinterest, and organic marketing, the behind the scenes systems to help your business get seen without taking over your life. I'm Julie, the founder of PNW Designs. I'm a Minnesota mom working full-time in corporate America, actually in finance, while growing my business on the side. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that growth doesn't come along from doing more. It comes from doing what actually works. Most of my business ideas start with coffee, and this podcast is all about strategies that actually convert, hence coffee and conversions. It's not about hustle for the sake of hustle, and it's not about pretty things that don't perform. So grab your coffee, pop in your headphones, and let's get into today's episode. Okay, so today on the podcast, we are doing a live SEO coaching call. So one of the things that I've added recently to the PNW Designs website, partially because I am only taking on one bigger project a month for the summer, is 1-hour coaching calls. So Haley from Nutrition with Haley was kind enough to be my guinea pig for the podcast. So most of the people find me through the podcast, which means you will be listening to this. I highly encourage you to watch the recording, not listen. I mean, you can listen, but it's going to be more educational if you actually watch the recording, because I'm going to be sharing my screen and talking as we talk through things today. But before we get started, Haley, why don't you just at least give people a little bit of a background of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Haley Misquick. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian, and I've been a dietitian for 12 plus years. And I now own or run my own private practice that serves women who are in the fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and hormone health space. And so, yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I've had my private practice for about 5 years now, since 2019, however many years that's been.
That's almost 7.
Okay, almost 7. So I've probably been a dietitian longer than I thought as well. I know it's August 29th, 2019 is when I did my first, and I had started by like one post on Instagram, and that was like my date that I decided that was me starting. So, but yeah, and that's a little bit about what I do.
And how long have you had your website? Do you know?
Oh, my website, this one. So this website that
you relaunched.
we're going to be, what was that?
I said I forgot you relaunched. So
yes. So this website that we are going to be looking over is actually, oh gosh, I got this done the end of the year in 2024.
Okay. Sounds good. So what we're going to do today as a part of the conversation is, like, I'm literally just going to talk to Haley and kind of forget that we're recording a podcast. However, again, I'm going to share my screen. This is going to be on YouTube, so you can see everything as I talk through it. The goal of the conversation is to give her some foundations of just SEO education, but B, also here's some actionable things that you can do as of today, or here's some things that I would recommend. As a follow-up of a conversation, I will actually put it in writing for her and give her some priorities, but obviously you guys don't get to be privy to that. So we're going to do the live conversation part instead. And I am just going to start by sharing my screen. And so one of the first things that I do when I jump on a consult call with somebody, or if I do these kind of like more live SEO coaching calls where people have specific questions, is just look at the foundations of what I can see. There's a lot we can see without actually having to go in like the back end of your website. So as I've mentioned on the podcast, there are multiple tools to kind of monitor your performance of your website. I would need to be given access to Google Search Console and Google Analytics. And for those who don't remember, so Google Search Console is telling you how people are finding your website specifically only on Google. Google Analytics is going to be how people find you regardless of where. So that is where you can tell if there's AI traffic, Google traffic, obviously, or direct traffic or Instagram, kind of like what your main drivers are. One of the tools that I use if I'm not already engaged with a client, because then I ask for access to those, is Ubersuggest. And Ubersuggest has a little tool that will give me, are you getting organic traffic? What are you ranking for from a keyword perspective? And kind of like high level information. Now, this is always going to be less than what you may actually be getting for traffic because it only can see so much. So starting there. However, when we look at Haley's like core website just from a traffic overview perspective, it's not uncommon to see this if you haven't worked with an SEO specialist before or somebody who does web design that specializes in SEO. And that is that on the screen, we're kind of seeing, okay, you have technically, it says you're ranking for 2 organic keywords. If you're ranking for more than that, I can actually see what they are. But because if I click over to keywords by traffic, it's not like you don't have enough. So it's not going to show me what those keywords actually are. Obviously, if you know how to get into your Google Search Console, you can then see that. But I can't see it on this side just because you don't have enough keywords. And again, those are going to be if people are finding you organically just by search, right? Not knowing your name, knowing your business name. Okay. The second thing is this monthly organic traffic. Again, according to Ubersuggest, you are not getting anyone organically to your website, meaning, and again, I always say if they're searching for your name, that's not really organic traffic because they already know your name, right? Like they're searching specifically for you versus searching for what you provide.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then domain authority. So domain authority is something that is just like, it's almost like a stat you can track. Ultimately, it means the higher your domain authority, the more authoritative search sees you as. It's a number from 0 to 100. The sites that are in their 90s are like YouTube and Instagram and like, those. Average entrepreneur, I try to get them between 10 and 20. Most people starting out, like your domain authority is actually higher than others who have tried something. So at least the content on your website, they feel like is decent, even if it's not necessarily driving traffic.
Right.
So having a domain authority of 7 is a good starting point. Obviously, you want that higher because what it means also is like as you create new content, the higher your domain authority, the more likely you are to show up for that new content. Mm-hmm. So it does matter from a just that perspective as well. And then one of the things that goes into domain authority is backlinks. Now, backlinks are other people recommending your website.
Interesting.
Or other businesses, other people linking your website. So, for example, this podcast will be turned into a blog. Mm-hmm. You will get a backlink by just being on the podcast, right? Which is great for your website. So if I look at your backlinks, now you'll see of the 18 you have, 12 of them are no follow. That means in general, it usually means they're spam. So
interesting.
Like no follow links are not helpful to you because it basically says, like if somebody else is linking you and then they mark it no follow, it's like, well, actually, I don't really want you to go there. Like, it's kind of like a knock on that backlink. So, did you do, either somebody talked about you. Let's see if we can find it. So I clicked your top backlink and I'm going to see if I can find your name here. You're linked to, there you go. Look at this. So.
Oh, I know that person.
There you go. So one of the backlinks is somebody recommending you on this forum, what to expect, right? But it's, you can see all of this stuff, right? And find out where people are talking about you. But you look at most of these, like you can kind of tell from the name of it that they're probably not otherwise helpful backlinks, right?
Yeah, that was a podcast I was on.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one I don't know. Full Well is a supplementation company.
Do you partner with them?
I mean, I'm affiliate for them.
So maybe it must be listed somewhere that you're an affiliate, right?
Could be. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah, so it's one way, like directories. Yeah, see, this is just a podcast link. Podcasts are great ways to get those backlinks because again, these are the ones that are showing up and saying they're not spam, right? But they help your authority, and that's probably why your domain authority is at 7, is because you have done some guest podcasts and again was recommended on that forum. So the more people you can get to talk about your website, the better.
Interesting.
So that's just baseline of where we're at today with your website. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay.
I'm learning lots.
So the other thing that I look at is just website structure. Now, when we look at website structure, there's something called header tags. And Google and search in general is obviously getting smarter by the day. However, header tags help from a back-end perspective structure your website. Think of it like I use this, and it's not my analogy, it's Duo Collective analogy, but think of each page like a book. Okay. So your H1 header should be the title of your book. Your H2s are chapters. And then, H3s are like supplements to the chapters, right? Or like bolded paragraphs, whatever, less important. So generally each page should have one H1 header, and that H1 header would have your targeted keyword. Like if somebody is organically trying to find you, what are they searching for in order to find you? So we'll get to your program page, but just as an example on your homepage. So you can see generally they're structured properly, meaning you have, and I'm pulling it all the way over here because you have a long header, but you have one H1 header on your homepage. Now, my question for you,
go ahead,
would be when we look at your H1 header, your H1 header is your partner in nourishing every season of motherhood. Are people searching that?
Oh, probably not.
Exactly. So it's
Interesting.
what I tend to design, and remind me, what web platform are you on again? We talked about this.
Showit.
Oh, you are Showit. Anyway, I have a different tool that I use for Showit, but I will use all these because these I can use on any web platform. But so specifically easy on Showit, because Showit allows you design flexibility with your headers. Certain platforms do not, like Squarespace. So you absolutely can, design how you need on Showit. But what I tend to do is create what are called eyebrow headers. So you could have your biggest header on your homepage still be your partner in nourishing every season of motherhood. However, like I know you, and this is probably a competitive keyword, so it's a little asterisk here. We'll get to the keyword side of things, but I know you as prenatal nutrition, right? And I know that you're trying to get broader than prenatal nutrition. But even if your keywords were something along the lines of prenatal nutrition and perimenopausal nutrition with Haley, right? And what an eyebrow header is, I'll show you on my site. I just cleared everything, so that's why my site's not even loading. Is see how on the top of my SEO page, it says SEO strategy consulting for small business owners?
Yeah.
It's boring, but that's what people are searching for.
Yeah.
And then I have the cuter headline, bigger next.
Yeah.
So this one is my title of the book, right?
Yeah.
And this one is my H2.
Interesting.
And again, I'm going to show it so you can see you can do that kind of design stuff. So it's
anything I've ever paid attention to when I have done my website.
Yeah.
Like how? Okay. But I see I see on my side where it says it just says main text. So like on the I'd say like the editing side of it.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't tell me
so on Showit.
Really interesting.
On Showit in the design side of things, your header tags are under text properties.
Yeah, see, I probably have never been there. So I'm probably just literally I'm editing what the website design person.
Yeah, so she set it up.
Right?
Yep.
So I don't even know where that place is on Showit that you just mentioned. I've never been there. Because I'm just editing what she has.
Yeah, you're just editing on the screen, not on the right-hand side.
100%.
Yep. Yeah, so if you click on the text box within Showit on the right-hand side, one of the little things that says text properties, and then you would select
oh, yeah.
again, if you were changing them.
Oh yeah, H2. I see it. Words text tag. Huh.
And obviously then you'd have to add an H1 that is searchable, but it is something to think about as far as in general, one of the reasons why it's hard for you to show up is you aren't necessarily targeting anything even on your homepage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even this so personalized nutrition support. Now, what we do before we get into your program is, I don't know, we might have to pivot because I don't know if it's going to let me open a second tab, but because I already have it open. Yeah, okay. So if I'm looking at your homepage and going, okay, what kind of keywords do you even have here? Personalized nutrition support kind of feels like something that somebody would search.
Right.
So I put it into Ubersuggest, which is, again, the search tool that I use. And it's not awful as a keyword. So when we're looking for keywords, it's just using the words that people are actually searching for.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, you want a search volume above 100 because you're really narrowing who's going to find you with that word, right? So personalized nutrition support only has a volume of 20 per month on average. So only 20 people across the US are searching for that on average per month. The good news is the metric right below that where it says SEO difficulty, we want this under 35. So it's not that competitive, but there's also not a ton of people searching for it.
Right.
So ideally you find one that has a higher volume, but same difficulty, right?
Interesting.
It is just a little bit of a math game when it comes to words.
Sounds like it.
Quick pause, because if you've been staring at your website and thinking something feels off, then this might help. I offer a free 30-minute consult after inquiry where we work and look at what's going on behind the scenes, what's working, what's getting in the way, and what would actually move the needle for your business. No pitching things you don't need, just an honest conversation about what I see and how we can grow together. If you want a second set of eyes and a real direction, you can book your free consult at buypwdesigns.com/contact, fill out the inquiry form, and we will get chatting. All right, back to the episode. So if I go to here, one of the, and this is where I can see it's competitive, but it's going to give me other words that are under the same topic as personalized nutrition support. And so, for example, I mean, again, not super helpful, custom nutrition facts, right? And then you'll notice the volume drops off pretty significantly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I go back to. And I would say most likely for you, you would want a standalone page on prenatal nutrition, which I believe you don't have right now, right? Because
if you go down, are you talking about maybe the
your program? Yes, here.
Yeah, that spot.
Okay, sorry. For those on the podcast, she does have a standalone page. The header for this standalone page on prenatal nutrition. And again, I always think of you as prenatal nutrition because your Instagram is prenatal nutrition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, if we look at your H1 header for that specific program, your H1 header is nourish your body with confidence from trying to conceive to postpartum. Again, I would think that's the H2 because no one's necessarily searching for that in that combination of words.
Right.
I mean, literally, when I tried to find your website earlier before we talked about your actual website, I searched for prenatal nutrition because that's your Instagram name. So I just automatically assumed. Now, if we look at prenatal nutrition, I mean, seriously, sorry, I got excited. If you look at prenatal nutrition, 2,400 people a month are searching for this with a SEO difficulty of 23.
Oh, so still
So like
5.
So your H1 header for that particular program should be prenatal nutrition with Haley because people are searching for your name and they're searching for prenatal nutrition. You could, go like prenatal nutrition information is another great keyword for that page, right? Now I know it goes into postpartum, but again, kind of niching to like if people are starting with you, most likely they're starting with you when they're pregnant or trying to conceive, right? And you could obviously like expand to make sure it's more well-rounded around the whole program, but this is what I'm looking for when I'm looking at optimizing pages is, are we using words people are actually searching for?
Right.
So we'll kind of pause on your current your legacy, I guess, program. Your one I know you for, which is prenatal nutrition. And we'll look at your, can I call it new program, Nourish Your Hormones? Newer?
Yeah.
So Nourish Your Hormones with Confidence. Tell me who your target market is for this program and how are they going to find you?
So my target market for this program would be like women who are outside of or think they're outside of trying to have baby season. So the whole reason this program even became a thought in my mind is because I've had lots of clients who I've had the privilege of working with for like multiple pregnancies, and then they're no longer pregnant and they're no longer in that postpartum, like I would say like the 4th trimester space, or they're also done breastfeeding, because I would still consider someone to be breastfeeding almost in that postpartum space as well. And even though I would say like, of course, you're always postpartum when you ask a dietitian, me, about it, it would be like someone who is more so like out of that recovery from pregnancies, right? So they're out of that space, but they're struggling with like symptoms that they're still having. So maybe they had, they like motherhood causes a lots of things. Our hormones starting to change in our mid to upper 30s starts making all kinds of dumpster fires around. So they've come to me being like, I know that you work in the pregnancy space, but any chance you could help me with X, Y, and Z, right? So that's where this was born from. And what are they trying to search? I'm not exactly sure.
So do you feel like, and I'm going to switch back and forth here between sharing my screen and not sharing, because I'm realizing as we're talking, the way that because with Google Meet, we're not actually on video when I'm sharing my screen. So we'll switch back and forth. Do you feel like your target is perimenopause though? Just because like naturally, like if you're done having babies, you're probably around 35.
Yeah, I would say like that keyword would most likely be something that pops up. I guess like yes, I would say perimenopause, because I I feel like I'm learning more and more about the definition of perimenopause. Does that make sense? Like I get it, there's so much in the nutrition space that like overlaps, right?
Yeah.
And so kind of, learning about the fact that perimenopause is something that starts happening at 35. And here I am, like, I think I'm 36 or 37, one of the two. So space. I literally always ask my husband, how old are we?
Yeah, I know. Same. I'm 37 in a month and a half, so I'm right there with you. Because that's where my brain goes just from a searchability perspective, because if you think about, I get where your target is.
Yep.
But it's not necessarily, there isn't like a name for the stage.
100%. Yep.
So then my brain goes, well, naturally, most people are going to be perimenopause. There is certainly an increase in education and knowledge and people talking about it nowadays, which is also nice. Oh, when I look at the research around perimenopause, there we go. We can kind of have us on the screen. I did some prep work before we talked. So again, just from a header perspective, now this one, I need to scroll all the way down because some things load like after the fact. Okay. So a couple of things for you from a Showit perspective too. So you notice here that you have your FAQs. First of all, great. Love to see that. And then when I look at your FAQs though, you'll notice how I see your header for FAQs where it says FAQs on the left-hand side here.
Yeah.
But these are not showing up as headers. Now, generally, I would say that the questions you have on your website, so do I get personalized one-on-one coaching? Can I join if I'm located outside the US? Do you accept insurance? Like, people aren't necessarily going to search for that specific to your program. Like, it's not necessarily a searchable question. However, I would recommend, at least at a minimum, going into clicking on the text box, switching those to H3 headers, right? When you go into your page. Because
yeah, and I think that is considered to be, you're gonna know this better than I am, but I think it's something that she created, because I know that it's kind of like a pain in the butt to play with my website, because
well, so they're just canvases, so it's a canvas view thing.
Thank you. I know okay, so I can see where you're talking about. It does say it's an H3 text though. It says the text like is H3.
Okay, so then it's just not reading, which is, it could just be an error on the headings map side of things. So that's good. At least they are H3s. So then again, what I did pre-call, just to kind of save us some dead air on the phone or Zoom, whatever, is pre-prepped keyword research for this particular page. So if you look, I'm going to switch so I'm staring at the right screen here. If you look at Ubersuggest, once I share my screen again. Okay, so if we look at our screen, one of the things that I did is I like to, especially if I'm doing like research on a new topic, I will ask Claude or ChatGPT for keyword research ideas. Now, I do not, and I've said this on multiple episodes, but do not use whatever they recommend, because half the time they're crap. More than half the time. I will ask it for 50 keywords because that's the bulk analysis cap on Ubersuggest. And of the 50, usually like 1 or 2 are usable. So it is a good way to get a bunch of words that people are potentially searching for, but always verify the math of it, because it's not accurate and it's not a good recommender of words. Now, so what I did is I put in 50 keywords that are related to, I told Claude about your content, about your program, and then it gave me a bunch of words. Now, Ubersuggest allows you to then sort it. So I'm going to say, okay, I only want words. You'll notice some of these SEO difficulties here. So perimenopause symptoms, for example, over 201,000 people a month are searching for this in the US. but the SEO difficulty is over 65, which means in reality, unless you are somebody who has a domain authority in the 40s or above, or somehow creating golden content, there's no chance you're getting organic traffic from that. So I always then sort to the easy area, 0 to 35. And then you'll notice there's a bunch of keywords left.
Oh yeah, closer.
However, lots of them have zeros, right?
Oh yeah.
So then I sort by volume. And see, even me, I'm like, I want to know the answer to this. This would be a good blog topic for you if you know about it. I feel like when we were together in person, we started going on a tangent about this. So I think this would be a good one for you to like write a blog about, right? Sorry, for those on the podcast, it's cortisol and perimenopause. But then we look at the next keyword. So perimenopause nutrition, perimenopause meal plan, hormone health coach. And then there's things that it could potentially be, again, blog topics like perimenopause gut health, protein intake, perimenopause. All of these, once you get to like 0, right? Because again, you don't necessarily want to use ones that have 0 search volume, can either be blog topics, or you could choose one of these as your primary keyword. So when we look at these, I mean, again, that's where I was asking about perimenopause, because perimenopause nutrition, although it is getting competitive, is something you could start building authority around. And you could potentially expand that to like perimenopause nutrition coaching, or is it a group?
It's like a hybrid program. So all my programs are hybrid. So that, because I do one-on-one with all clients, because I don't believe in not doing that.
So again, and I would say adding that coaching word is fine, right? So if I was you, and if I was looking at your program page for Nourish Your Hormones with Confidence, I would either change and like wordsmith how to update that main title to include perimenopause nutrition coaching, or do that little header above, right? So one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is this: when I look at websites, the other thing that I look at as a part of SEO, because it all talks, I guess is the way to say it, is ADA compliance. So when we look at ADA compliance, basic web ADA compliance, there's a lot that goes into it, but basic things are that your colors are legible for those who are colorblind. So there's a checker, and I will link again in the show notes my ADA compliance episode, which has all of this information on it. But in the checker, you are able to say, okay, what is and I'm going to do this live here for YouTube. But again, I go to the Adobe color contrast checker, and I'm going to put in your background color and your button color, because that's like the easiest way to pull it, which is ultimately also your text color. So when we do that, you can see that the contrast ratio between your background color and your text color is 2.23. In order to meet ADA compliance, it needs to be at least a 4.5.
Oh, wow.
Now, ideally, sometimes I let clients skirt by if the large text ADA compliance checker, if it meets that. Like sometimes it'll fail for regular text and pass for large text. And if that's the case, then you could use it for headers, right? But not just body text. In this case, you fail for all of it. Now, it is a core brand color, which makes this a little bit difficult. So one of the things you can see is on the right-hand side here, it'll suggest this is the ratio it needs to get to pass. I did check it against a white background too, just to kind of see like, oh, maybe it's just it's the light pink background. But if we check against white, it's still at 2.64. So in no combination besides a black background does your pink text work.
What an interesting looking website.
So it's something to think about, and it's hard when it's your entire brand identity. So what I tend to do, and I don't think Stephanie would mind me mentioning this. So recently, when I have been making updates for How to Mom, we actually created a separate, like almost brand palette that's complementary to her brand, but, and I'm going to show it on the screen here in a sec, but allows us to meet ADA compliance. So when I did her brand update, I mean, and again, like just kind of expanding it, again, for those, I don't know, clearly my screens are two different sizes. Okay, there we go. So when we look at her brand palette, right, you'll see that I have, I don't know how to find you again. Where are you? Oh, you're over here. Okay. You'll see that I have these like darker colors on top. These darker colors on top are the text colors on a white or light background. So her original color, for example, is this color. Similar to her red is similar concept to your pink, right? And so then I said, okay, if we're ever using it on the website, we have to use the darker version of it. So that's something to think about, is as you are potentially making website updates long term or refreshing things, that it would, in order to meet ADA compliance, your pink has to change. Now, when we look at your green, you can see that you can use it on white background. So it meets that 5.31. And then if we flip it just for fun, it meets the other way around as well. Now, I don't know, do you use any other colors with your green? Like, do you use pink on your green or? Okay.
I use like the light pink on my green sometimes.
Okay, so let's check the light pink.
I mean, I guess on Instagram content.
There you go. So I think that's the light pink. So yeah, so it works that way and it works the other way. So
interesting.
It's technically your core color. That's the problem. So what I tend to do, and I even have problems with this too. Like, for example, all of my brand colors, besides the dark blue, I can't use as text colors either. I will use them as background colors and then use black text over it, but I can't use them as text colors either because it doesn't meet ADA compliance. And it's very common for me to come across, like when I do web design and SEO projects, I'm having to suggest updates to the colors or combinations in order to kind of like make sure that they are meeting. Now, some clients will say, I don't care. I'm not worried about it, etc. I don't know how often small businesses are sued, but I have seen multiple headlines around it that there are law firms targeting small businesses because they don't have the money to defend themselves, or like, it's just crappy lawyers out there. So just something to think about. The other thing to think about from a design perspective, again, does play into SEO because ADA compliance plays into SEO, is you don't use a ton of them. I am actually working with somebody right now who has every header like this. Cursive is generally not recommended for headers. So you only use it like once or twice, not a big deal, but it is something to generally think about from a like potentially not doing, often, just because again, it is not recommended from a compliance perspective. It has to be like, it's just the fact that some people can't read it, right? And therefore it's not compliant. This must be your green here, right? On the page. Yeah, that's what I thought. So
I was gonna say, it depends where you're looking at my website on what's going on, I guess.
Yeah. So high level, we talked about potentially updating just your core keyword. Now, obviously, then when you look at copy, you're going to want to support that throughout the page. So I can give you a screenshot of the keywords that I came up with from that list that I showed. But what it means by supporting is again, ideally you're using it more than once on the page, but you're also not using it 50 million times, right? That it's naturally woven in within your copy, within potentially other headers, that again, where it's supporting it. So if you think about on that page, even on where it says how you're supported, you could utilize words like how I support perimenopause nutrition or hormones or whatever, right? Like instead of just a general how you're supported, utilizing kind of the core word with it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what questions do you have that I didn't cover? Things to think about? Helpful?
There's lots to think about. So I look forward to the priority list because I think that it's not so more where my brain goes, right? Like I mean honestly, like as an entrepreneur, right? Like you learn a lot of different things than what you're technically the expertise in, right?
Oh,
like
for sure.
I just want to do nutrition and help women, right? Versus like put together a website and have to redesign it and all of that. Cause of course, like on a website place for me, like I do my website and then I probably don't touch it for 3-4 months until something comes up that I need to add to my website or that type of thing. Then I'll add it. And that takes me probably 2 hours to add something to it because I've completely lost all of the knowledge on how to edit the website.
This is why you need to outsource.
I know. I did outsource my website design because my first website was actually created by my husband, which I think actually had more of the keywords that you talked about without even knowing it. Because I know like prenatal nutrition was all over there. And I'm pretty sure like I searched prenatal nutrition when I had my first website and I could find my website by that.
Did you rebrand to Nutrition with Haley back in 2024?
My company has always been Nutrition with Haley because so that's technically my S Corp LLC. And I've left it like that because I didn't know 100%.
Well, and you're expanding.
Well, yeah. Well, at the same time too, like I didn't want to be tied. When I first like registered my business with whatever those top dogs are called.
The state, I don't know.
The state, yeah. I know my accountant every time is like, have you re-registered? And I'm like, no. And he's like, let's take care of that. And I'm like, thank goodness you take care of that for me every year. Cause
I like panic, remember every June, you know?
Yeah. Well, like you get so much spam mail around it, but I don't think any questions. I think like more in my head, it's more of like the priority.
Yeah. Like what do I do now?
Space. And then other than that, I have to kind of just like let it process in my head about the ADA compliance side.
Yeah. That's the hardest part for you.
Yeah. I'm not like, I don't care because I do care. But
it's a huge pivot when it's your entire website.
Yes. So it's just kind of more so kind of like thinking in my head and I guess like understanding sometimes too. So, cause on like, I think like with the ADA side, right? I'm like, so can I never use the pink on white? Like if that's anywhere on my website, I'm technically like out of compliance, even though if it was 99.8%, like the green, right? So that's where in my head, I'm like, if the like pink could completely be but my logo background, I believe also, like, I think even my logo has that pink.
But you can use pink with black. So if I do your background color as the pink.
You put black on it.
Black text, not white text, which I talked about this in my podcast episode.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts because in a lot of cases, I'm working with this other brand right now that has a light green. I like the white text on it versus black, but it doesn't meet the scoring. The black does.
Yeah.
And so yes, you can use the bright pink only with black text.
Yeah, so you'd
And
have to have it as like a background and then put black text on it, which
right,
I don't remember how that looks because I think I use the green usually on it when it's
if you're using a background. I mean, you do have, so if you go to your resources page, for example, you do have a pink background, the bright pink with white text. All you'd have to do there is just switch it to black text. So in that scenario, right, it's not a huge switch for one page.
yeah.
And the one thing that I would think about it again, just quick, like little tidbits of you had mentioned, and it's very common for entrepreneurs to say this of like, oh, I just update it when I need to do a quick update. Well, if you want organic search visibility, and again, maybe that's not a priority, some businesses it's not, but if you as an individual listening, or you obviously Haley listening, regular updates to your website are key
Interesting.
because it reflects back to search
Yeah.
that you're active and that you are pouring into your business. I mean, think about it as the same way we think about with Instagram, right? Obviously, Instagram is way more frequent,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing. If you search a business owner and they haven't been on their Instagram in 3 years, you're not going to contact them.
Mm-hmm.
But and Google reads it the same way. If you haven't updated your website in years, which you are because you're making tweaks, but if you haven't, then it's going to think the same thing.
Makes sense.
And so I even think about, I go to your free resources, and one of the things I always recommend to clients, and I'm doing this with some of my retainers right now, is having a standalone sales page for your freebies.
Mm.
Because again, every page is a new opportunity for you to rank for a word or a phrase, right? So
Would that be the same thing as how like underneath it's like my resources and then it says free resources?
Mhm.
Okay.
So your prenatal vitamin checklist.
Oh yeah.
That would be a great standalone, instead of just like clicking to download and probably putting in your email, you would have a standalone sales page where obviously they could still like download, but you're talking more about the resource in a manner that allows you to show up for search for it. Because I bet you that's a keyword people are searching for. Now it might be competitive, but it's also something I know watching your stories for 5 years, even though, again, I'm not in that like trying to conceive stage. You talk about this all the time and you have great authority around it, right? So things that like long term and again lower priority things is like how I always point out is like how to continue to grow. Standalone sales pages, right, for your freebies. And what every business owner loves to hear, blogging.
No.
But I always say with clients, like even if it's once a month, right? Like, it's not something you have to do. It's right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the more you do it, the more likely you are going to show up. But even if you can get some indicator back to Google that you're being regular,
Yeah.
updating, like I said, cortisol and perimenopause nutrition, you know about that. We've talked about it individually.
Mm-hmm.
You could totally write something on that. And in the age of AI, one of the things that I recommend my clients doing is talk to your chat. Like if you're not a typer and you're a talker,
Oh, 100%. That's exactly. I can talk to you for days, but typing something up takes me years.
so talk to your chat and have it write it. Have it like literally say I want to write a blog post about cortisol and perimenopause. Like interview me about what I know about it. Take my words and write a blog post about it. And then one of the things that I do and talk to clients about is then once it writes it, double check it against, there's a free website. And again, this is why I'm recording and putting this so that Gemini can help me like prioritize this for you. But anyway, there's a free website called Zero GPT. I don't know how reliable it is, but I do use it to check if things are flagging for AI text. Because if your blogs are showing up as AI text, there's no point in writing it because it's just going to be deprioritized nowadays. So it does need to be written from a human-centric perspective, which is why I said literally talk, right? To chat, tell it everything you know, and then have it right based on what you said. And
Right.
you could do that like commuting, which is what I tell people to do. So
Commute too much, but yes.
yeah, I mean, obviously, but or picking the kids up or whatever. So just a little like thing to leave with long term. Once you think about, if you do want to show up more on search, there's certainly some things we can do from a header perspective. ADA compliance is obviously a whole other can of worms, but as you create new things, maybe keeping it in mind, potentially maybe adding a depth of color to your brand so that you can use a pink in a different way. Because yeah, like even unfortunately, I mean, I love it, right? Like I look at it, I'm like, it's fine. It's really hard. It's that battle for sure. Like I look at your logo, I'm like, it's great. And then yeah, I will, as a follow-up after I hit stop on the podcast recording, we can chat too, but I will get you kind of a list and
Perfect.
help you at least, I mean, from an education perspective, things to think about when you're updating, showing up online.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so as we just say goodbye on the podcast, for those who, I mean, we've obviously said your website a ton on this recording. So nutritionwithhaley.com. But where else can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at prenatal.nutritionist. I'm also on TikTok and not a ton. Don't put it there. But you can find me there as well.
Same name, prenatal.nutritionist.
Pretty sure.
Okay. Otherwise, just email me. We'll make sure it's in the show notes so people can click that way.
And then other than that, yeah, those are the two main places other than like my website that you can find me. Or else I'm also on LinkedIn and you can come and check me out on there too.
And again, if you are expecting, Haley has some amazing resources, not only on her Instagram, but her free resources page, which I was talking about with the prenatal vitamin checklist. And then she clearly does work with those who are not, and in the lovely stage of starting perimenopause, which I feel like is going to be my entire friend group. So all of us, right? We're all getting older. So.
Yes. Well, me too. So I'll be right with you guys.
Okay. Well, thank you, Haley, for joining.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Coffee and Conversions. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate every single person who listens. If this episode helped you think differently about your business, I'd love if you left a rating and review or shared it with a friend who is running a business alongside you, because community is everything. It's the easiest way to help this podcast reach more women who want a strategy that actually works. You can find links, resources, and anything mentioned in today's episode in the show notes. For more tools, services, and behind-the-scenes strategy, head over to buypwdesigns.com. And if you want to peek into my real life, corporate job, mom life, running a business, and really just like the true me, you can find me at Instagram over at julie.pwdesigns, and I hang out there most days. Until next time, keep on building intentionally, and I will see you back here at Coffee and Conversions.